Hello, everyone, and Professor Teeter. This is Alex Hain. This is my accounting data analytics final project analysis questions for the end of the project, as well as my Tableau visuals to go alongside that. So my first question I asked, so I split them up. So the first five are the OC2 questions, and the second half is the five P2P questions. So the first question I have is, I wanted to know if our customers paid on time. And so, yeah, as you see the answer to that, I wrote down, we see that most of, if not all of our transactions give our customers one full month before their invoice is due. And for the most part, it appears that our customers' ability to pay their invoices on time were actually kind of mixed. I was a little surprised by that. I was expecting them to either be mostly paid on time or either mostly paid late. And so, it wasn't uncommon for a lot of our customers to have multiple transactions and multiple different invoices. And, there was a lot of instances where, let's say, customer A, for example, would have, three or four invoices, one or two of them would be paid on time, one would be paid late maybe, and, there still might be one that's still outstanding. So I thought that was interesting. And then here you can see how I set this up in Tableau. So you have your list of customers on the left, it scrolls down for, towards the end of the list, but this is the screen grab I have here, along with the invoice, ID numbers, the date of the invoice, and the date that it was due. And then on all the way on the right here, you can see the receipt date of that invoice. So, you'll see for, trying to find, let's look at an example where one was paid early, one was maybe paid late, so one was paid on time. Yeah, so you can see here, so for Arav, right? So he's got first couple invoices here. You can see they're due February 6th, March 1st. He paid those a little late, not too late though, not really a problem. He's got one here, due August 2nd, paid on time, July 30th. So there were a lot of customers that had scenarios kind of like that. So this is my second question. So I wanted to know, I'm like, the geography nerd in me wanted to know which states and kind of areas and regions our biggest customers were from. And so our top six biggest customers in terms of, amount of amount, a dollar amount that we sold to them. Were from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, North Carolina, New Jersey twice, and New York, respectively. So the next, so here's a visual for that. So you can see on the right-hand side, it's got, it's ordered sales order amount. It's ordered descending. On the right-hand side, you have the label for the state, as well as the customer names here as well. So just a little visual for that. And then the next question I asked tied inside to that last question. So were there any geographic trends with the states that our biggest customers from? So when looking at our top six biggest customers, the overwhelming majority are from the Northeast region of the United States. And if you go even further down the list, you'll see that most of the large customers are, either, still in the Northeast or, somewhere along the East Coast. There are a few Midwest, West Coast scattered in there, but, for the most part, it stayed relatively towards the East Coast. This is that same visual again that I used for those two questions. And my next question here, so that I came up with, what method of pay did our customers use to pay their invoices? And it looks like most of the customers write checks to pay their invoices. It's kind of what I expected, but I was interested to see if there were maybe some direct debits that came out of their checking accounts or whatever. But so they're mostly checks. So these checks would be reconciled by the auditors and make sure they were recorded properly, all that stuff. So here you can see here all the null values are invoice IDs that have still yet to be paid. So don't worry about those. Those don't matter for this question, but everything else is a check. And my last question for this first part. Oops. Are there a lot of customers with adjustments to their invoices, and what might be the reason behind those adjustments? And so I noticed that, when I put it together in Tableau, there weren't a whole lot of customers with adjustments to their invoices in the grand scheme of things. The one trend I did notice was that the invoices with adjustment amounts were ones that had not yet been paid or been received by the company. So I kind of created a little dashboard for this and filtered it for one customer just as an example. So we chose Caden Contreras here. They were actually the largest amount of adjustment, $2,140. And you can see the date for that adjustment was February 27th, 2020. And if we look down here, we'll see that Caden had 4 invoices and 3 of them have been paid. And one of them had not been paid. And the one that has not been paid is the February 27th one, and that's where the adjustment comes from. So moving on now, we're going to look at the P2P questions. So the first one I have, I kept these questions kind of, in similar line to the first set of questions, just because that's the way that the lab was kind of set up to me, was that they were following the same process, just looking at the 2 different sides of the payment process. And so we looked at, earlier if our customers paid on time, and now I wanted to know if we paid our invoices on time. And so actually our firm, a lot of our invoices that we paid were way past the due date. And, just, my personal thoughts on that, I think that is a troublesome thing. Can lead to number of things. Just a few examples. Like it could lead to a bad relationship with the suppliers, which may hinder future business dealings with them. It also shows an inability for our firm to take advantage of early payment discounts. A lot of suppliers will offer those. If you receive an invoice from your supplier and pay them back within, say like 10 days or whatever, they'll give you a discount on the purchase, which be a benefit, a very beneficial financial advantage for the company. And so I think us not taking advantage of that, I just think it's a little silly. We should be taking advantage of it at least to some degree. So yes, here's how I set that up in Tableau. You can see here is similar to the one earlier. You've got the invoice date, the date that the invoice is due, again, usually a month after it's received, and the payment date. You'll notice if you just look down the list, all the payment dates are, paid after they're due, most of the time over a month after they're due. So just something we're not taking advantage of. So our next question is, the next question I had was, which states are the biggest suppliers from? Where are they in relation to our biggest customers? I want to see if there's any correlation between there or not. So the top 4 biggest suppliers were located in New Jersey, Ohio, New York, and Louisiana. So not as, so yeah, so here's that graph real quick. I only went with 4. I know I did 6 the first time, but see after top 4 really kind of just tapers down. These first 4 really kind of stick out. And so, again, this question ties back to the previous one. Are there any geographic trends, with where the states from our biggest suppliers are from? And, it's not the same kind of trend regionally that we had with our biggest customers. But it is still pretty East Coast dominant. I know Ohio and Louisiana aren't the really kind of states that come to mind when you think of East Coast, but there's still more East than West. So again, the same graph. So next question I had was, what payment method do we use to pay our invoices from our suppliers? So this one is actually mostly via CCH. There were occasionally some checks that we used to pay. You see the graph kind of here, and this sort of distribution between CCH and check was pretty it was like this the whole way down if you scroll. Um, so and then last question I had was, what percentage of our suppliers are we forfeiting more than 50% of available discounts? This ties back in, going back to what I said before, not taking advantage of those discounts, I think is silly. Um, so I wanted to see, how many of our suppliers are we, you know, are we doing that on? And so are we forfeiting a lot of the available discounts? So we forfeit more than 50% of the available discounts for 19 of our 27 suppliers, and that's 70%. And again, this goes back to paying those invoices late. And I think paying our invoices on time and even early would definitely, just overall just increase the overall financial health of the organization. And, that having good financial health, just a lot of other things come along with that. So here's that last graph I have for this. The number shown on the right of each bar. Those are the forfeited ratios. So, for this one, for example, X-Trax 0.6526, that's 65% of the available discounts that we're forfeiting. So just think there's a lot of room for improvement for a lot of these suppliers, that in the sense that, there's a lot of room to improve in terms of taking advantage of some of those available discounts. So those are the 10 questions I have for the last part of my accounting data analytics final project. And that's all I've got. Thank you so much.